Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are so glad to have you guys hanging out with us as we are live from B&B Lemon. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant. We are located at 1814 Washington Avenue in Houston. B&B Lemon's right across the street from there, and B&B is also in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. We're actually hoping to have, and you never know with Jeremiah.
You never know if
we're hoping to have Jeremiah join us if he shows up in this last segment. Perhaps that will happen, but if not, we will be back at B&B in a couple of weeks. So we'll be looking forward to hanging with him and getting to do all of that. So, all right, Ian, you know, and I'm a tequila fan.
I am aware of this.
I did not know, however, that according to the American Chemical Society, tequila could actually help you shed a few pounds.
All right, lay it on me.
All right, so the natural form of sugar that's found in the agave plant, which is used to make tequila, can actually lower blood glucose levels, according to new research that was presented in a meeting of the American Chemical Society. Agavins, which is the natural form of sugar in the agave plant, are non-digestible and wind up acting as dietary fiber. They also can help you feel fuller, which could help you eat less, according to the survey. So,
so you're saying have tequila with every meal?
Have tequila as often as you can.
With every meal?
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully it will result in weight loss. And you know what? I am going to try it.
Don't have tequila with every meal. That's probably a bad idea.
Oh, come on. How could that be a bad idea? How could that possibly be a bad idea?
Let's see. For breakfast, I had granola and tequila. For lunch.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
2 kolaches and tequila.
We're live at B&B Lemon across the street from B&B Butchers and Restaurant in Houston, Texas. Ian is enjoying a New World by A.J. Fernandez.
I am truly enjoying it.
I am enjoying the Cedrus from Southern Draw. And I'll tell you, Ian.
How do you like that one?
This is wonderful. It's got that Maduro goodness that I so crave and enjoy in cigars. It's just got its wonderful earthiness, and it's got a little bit of woodsy vibe to it that I really
pick
enjoy.
up on that woodsy vibe in there, and I really enjoy that cigar. That's one that I pick a few up every time I go into a shop that has it.
That's interesting because Southern Draw is a fairly new brand. At least I believe it to be.
Yeah, I think they're only a few years old now.
Yeah, I think that's right. So it's interesting to try this. By the way, speaking of cigar brands and new iterations of cigars, the FDA has approved. Now, understand there's a couple of bills in front of the legislature which would exempt premium cigars from any of the FDA legislation that has been passed. Okay, so if one of those passes, we're in good shape. However, if neither of them do pass, then this winds up being interesting. Yesterday, or actually it was a couple of days ago now, the FDA proposed a new rule detailing how all tobacco product manufacturers, including cigar makers, should submit their what's called their substantial equivalence reports, but it's about bringing new products to the market. It's also opening up a public commentating period for this that has already started, will last through June 17th, to get feedback for this proposed rule. Basically, according to the new rule, which would include basics like brand name, dimensions, wrapper material, along with more ambiguous information like harmful or potentially harmful constituents without and characterizing flavors. For producers of premium handmade cigars, product approval is one of the most controversial issues with this whole legislation.
Well, yeah, they're making it
that's involved
to the point where you can't afford to approve a new cigar blend.
Lack of clear guidance, they say, costly testing, and slow turnarounds are a few of the problems that they mention when they're speaking out against the FDA's approval plans. Unfortunately, this new proposal doesn't really clarify much, and the words premium cigar aren't mentioned once in the 171-page document. In fairness, the FDA seems to understand this confusion, which is why it may have opened up the public commenting period that says, and they said in the rule, for tobacco products not specifically identified, FDA invites comments and information on the parameters that may be needed. The problem, Drew Newman, who is the general counsel for J.C. Newman Cigar Company, says the problem is that he remains very skeptical about whether it's possible to reliably test premium cigars because making premium cigars is an inherently unscientific process. And the natural variation makes it difficult to figure out a standard
Do you
testing
think maybe an ingredient label would help this?
Oh, well, certainly we know what it's done for Bud Light. Except with Bud Light, they apparently aren't even required to put all the ingredients on the ingredient label.
That's pretty amazing.
Which we've talked about.
I mean, like the ingredient label on a cigar package would be pretty small. It would say
Right.
tobacco. Because
right.
that's literally what's in a cigar. It's tobacco. It's a natural product,
Right.
and it's just tobacco.
And boy, this tobacco is good. This Southern Draw, Cedrus, boy, it's good. Boy, it's good. Well, Ian, I think it's time to pass this to you, and I pass it to you with love because it's from Astoria with love.
From Astoria with love.
Right.
I think we're going to
George
start off by
Brewing.
showing the camera
I
this
think you should because this is definitely worth taking a good look
Let
at.
me put it on our
It's
expensive,
a very interesting
on our
can.
expensive beer turner here.
Okay, good. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's how that beer turner works. Doesn't slip out of my fingers.
So Astoria, Oregon is the location for the the Fort George Brewing Company. This is their Russian Imperial Stout. That sounded really good.
That did, didn't it?
That sounded wonderful, actually. It's distributed in the Pacific Northwest, maybe hard to find in other parts of the country, but this is something that's really created quite a stir when it came out. And looking at the color of this in the cup, I'm already impressed. This just seems to be right up your alley there, my friend.
It definitely looks super classic.
Yes. So what, Ian, do you know what what does it mean if the Imperial Stout is Russian in style?
Wiki Brian, we're going to need you on this one. Save me.
Says on the can, before Matryoshka, there was a darkness, a stout that we hold dear to our hearts, from the fort to you, from Astoria with love. FortGeorgeBrewery.com, from Astoria.
Did you get more than one can of this?
Actually, I have another can in my refrigerator at home. Should I be planning to gift that to you?
This is something.
Really?
Yeah, this is really special.
Interesting. So I'm going to do my first tasting here. Describe what you're getting.
I'll tell you what I'm getting right off the bat. Like the malty profile right up front is not as sweet as you would expect. This has a more burnt caramel kind of finish to it. Like burnt to the point where that's one of the most prominent flavors, but in such a good way.
It's not unpleasant at all.
No, in such a good way. The mouthfeel on this is super silky, super super full. This is, man, I want ice cream with this. Like,
yeah.
This is so good.
It's not, though.
It's not as sweet as you'd expect.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes when you get an Imperial Stout or a Porter, it almost feels like you should pour it over your ice cream because of the sweetness. This is not sweet at all. It's almost
it's bitter.
like a cup of coffee would be.
Yes, and very, very much coffee notes in it as well. Especially in the aftertaste. You know, after you've swallowed and you're kind of just enjoying what's going on, that coffee kind of comes up.
Well, you're so right though about the burnt caramel.
Yeah,
that is the forward flavor.
Good, yeah.
You get it on the front,
the roasted
and then,
caramel,
and then you get it at the end.
Yeah,
but
outstanding. And this is one that that Wiki Brian, who's might actually be working right now, would absolutely love. Like this, he would go distances for this one.
Yeah. Well, this is
at 9.4 too. It's pretty big.
Yeah, it is big. Honestly, it doesn't taste as big.
It's not very boozy
as
no.
9.4.
No,
yeah,
it's not super
right.
boozy.
It's not boozy. It's not like say a barley wine would give you more of that sort of
boozy vibe,
head swirling booziness. So.
Well, yeah, I could drink a lot of this, and drinking a lot of it would probably be a mistake. But it's,
I'm really
like flavor-wise, it's just outstanding.
I'm really curious to try this, and then take a drink of this All the King's Soldiers drink.
Interesting with the wine finish on it and everything. Let's see what happens here. Yeah. Drum roll, please.
So this is interesting. It almost obliterates it.
Really?
Yes. Try your beer first, and then come back to the cocktail. You get a little bit of the wine vibe that is included in this cocktail, but I lost the whiskey completely.
Yeah,
I lost the bullet completely.
It tastes like if you left an ice cube and with like a half a shot of wine.
Right.
That was a pretty big flavored
It was a very
drink
big drink, yes, and
in the
delicious.
first place.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Those
when
are
we go
great
back.
on their own, but a little incompatible. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna try it with my gin drink though and see what happens.
Well, that might be interesting because that's a completely other kettle of fish there.
That one cuts right through. Interestingly enough, that one with the lemon and everything
I would expect the bullet rye to cut through.
cuts right through. Yeah, it's funny. It
just disappears. Like you
Disappears.
get the wine, but you get none of the bullet. When you're
That being
drinking
said,
it following
as
the.
we said earlier too, they don't make their cocktails super boozy. The cocktails are for flavor, not for
Right.
being super boozy, and which is a bonus in a lot of times because if you're out on a date and you're having a few cocktails, you want to be able to have a few, not just one.
Right.
Yes,
That's
that'd be
absolutely true.
awesome.
Yeah.
Can we have a cup of ice? Maybe ice water, please. Some waters. Yeah.
It's very interesting because this stout almost feels to me like a very traditional stout. Would you agree with that?
Well, so I don't know what the designation. Stouts are big porters. Russian Imperial Stouts are big stouts. There you go. Think stout turned to 11. Thank you, Wiki Brian. So we, this is every Russian stout that I've ever had is big, and this is right up there with it. This is an outstanding beer.
Well, while you're enjoying that, let me tell you about a place that we need to put on our to-visit bucket list, Ian. San Diego, East Village. They are preparing to pay homage to that area. And San Diego, by the way, is a craft beer mecca. I
haven't been to San Diego.
I would say that in California, it's San Diego is like probably that's where Stone is, or in that general area. It's where a number of really great craft breweries have sprung up, even going all the way back to the beginning of the craft brewing movement. And then you go up to like Oregon and Washington, and there's this whole other hotbed there on the West Coast. But San Diego will be home in the spring and summer of 2020 to the Museum of Beer.
The Museum of Beer. Now, we had a couple comments earlier on this. I'm going to try and scroll back and see. Because there are apparently a couple. There's a Museum of Beer in Pittsburgh, apparently.
That makes sense.
And there's a Museum of Beer and Brewing in Milwaukee, which, of course,
makes sense because that's where Miller is. Right. Well, the Museum of Beer in San Diego will highlight beer history, and the brewing process through high-tech, immersive, and hands-on exhibits, according to the museum. Virtual reality-based exhibits will also walk you through a brew house and a beer festival and bring you face-to-face with iconic San Diego brewers. Holograms of San Diego brewers.
That's pretty cool.
I love this idea.
That's pretty cool. You know what? That's better than my idea of the Here, Hold My Beer Museum that I had, which has been shot down time and time again, but I still think it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, well.
I guess holograms of brewers and stuff might, beat that out. But.
Guests are supposed to learn how beer is made, styles of beer, and, of course, San Diego's place in craft beer history. There'll be self-guided installations, educational sessions, and other beer-themed activities. And, of course, you have to assume there'll be a tap room. So, that'll be...
you would have to.
That'll be something to look forward to.
They'd have to have something. Thank you very much, Eric.
Been a long time coming, they say in their press release, and they're hoping all beer lovers will visit the museum for a taste and experience of what's brewing in what they call America's finest city. There will be, by the way, an on-site beer garden. So... think about that. And an artisan pizza kitchen, by the way, as well.
Nice.
And members of the San Diego Brewers Guild will be represented with different brews there.
There's a bit of a movement been going on with the artisan pizza thing. I've noticed there's some chains and some smaller places that are doing really fun things.
I just love the whole idea of the field trip. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the field trip is a wonderful thing. So... when you're going to a museum, say, Mom, I'm going to the museum.
I'm going to the museum. I'm going to educate myself.
That's right.
And, I will stay and read everything.
Never mind that it has a beer garden. So they're hosting an open forum where guests can learn more about this, but it is about a year away, is what we can expect.
Nice.
From being open. So interesting that there are beer museums in other places. I would say, as a resident of Texas, I would love to see a Texas beer museum.
That was my idea. Hold my beer. Watch this.
Right.
That's a little
different sort
Yeah,
of
a little
museum,
different.
I think. That's sort of a museum of beer drinkers, is what that would be. So apparently we have decided to do a broadcast on Construction Day here at B&B Lemon. But that just goes to show you they're always working to bring things
They're
up
always
to the next
improving,
level.
yes.
Yeah. Always trying to
There's
improve.
no way to be quiet with a whole saw,
so-
by the way.
Yeah, no. It just doesn't work. So, Ian, a very interesting show today in terms of what we've tasted. The cocktails were fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic.
Chastity
was so fun.
Do you have a favorite? Was the
my gin, the gin cocktail? That was
was
the
your favorite?
what do we call it? The belle of the ball.
the Belle of the Ball?
Yes.
And that's apparently their most popular cocktail
Yes.
here.
And so next time I come in here, I'll walk swaggeringly up to the bar and say, "I'll have
the
a Belle of the
Ball. Yes,
The Belle of the
that
Ball.
works. So those were great. I think we particularly enjoyed the beers today. The Tropic Thunder
Yeah,
Lager
the
was
beers
quite
were
good.
outstanding, yes.
The Surf and Bird was surprisingly wonderful, and the from Astoria with Love Imperial Stout was pretty hard to say no to.
And I'm going to tell Brian, if I can talk you out of that other Astoria with Love, me and him are going to share that. And
All
he's
right,
going to
that sounds like a
freak
plan.
out on how good that
That
is.
sounds like a plan. I will reserve that for you, my friend.
He deserves at least a beer from us by
Yes.
now.
Oh yeah, for all of the help. He's essentially the research director of the show.
That's
so.
right. He's our bat cave.
He really is. He's the big craze that Bruce Wayne has down in the back cave.
That's right.
So I do want to thank our hosts here at B&B Lemon who have been more than gracious, and want to thank Chastity for helping us out with the drinks and putting things together.
And
being a
Eric for
guest on the
taking
show.
care of our table.
Ian, take a look at that. You mentioned that they have a brunch.
Oh, yes. So they just
Take a look
started
at some of
brunch.
what's on that menu before we go.
They just started a brunch here a few weeks ago, and with everything else that they serve, I'm assuming it's outstanding. They got some of the starters. They got pigs in a blanket, French onion croissant, beignets, brulee grapefruit. I have no idea what that is, but that sounds pretty intense.
Brulee. Brian, help us with brulee.
Oysters, blue crab beignets, bacon parmesan.
Well, we tried that earlier.
We had that earlier.
That was
pretty-
just wrong.
pretty
on so many
outstanding. They got
levels.
some soups and salads that look really good.
And I will mention, I've had their oysters on the half shell here, and they're quite good. They
Oh,
do.
they got bagel and lox. I love that.
See, all right. So this is a good place to be.
The croque toad, open faced with Gruyere ham and bechamel.
Yes, I love it.
Corned beef Benedict. I'm all over that with grain mustard hollandaise.
I love it.
I'm coming in this weekend.
Yes. It's a great place to visit. And, the cocktails alone, we only tried 3. They had, what did she say, 8 or 9 signature cocktails here?
Yeah.
So a lot to try.
Check this
out. A lot
out.
to sample.
Crawfish hash with poached eggs and blackened hollandaise.
What's not to like?
Yeah.
What's not to like?
You're not going to lose weight on that, though. You're going to have to drink tequila with it
Yeah,
to
I was gonna
balance
say,
it.
Get the tequila, that'll balance it out. I'm sure they can help you out with some good tequila. I want to say thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel for setting up the broadcast this week. We appreciate it. Next week, we'll be in the studio, and our guest will be Jared Hempstead from Balcones Whiskey.
Oh, I'm excited about
now,
that.
Jared was going to be on the show a little bit earlier, but had a sort of an interesting and unfortunate incident that kept him from being able to be on when he was scheduled the first time. And I'm going to leave it up to him whether he wants to tell the story or not. So maybe we'll get him to tell that story next week. Of course, some more great beers and things to try. And special thanks again to Jeremiah and to Brian, the manager here
Yes.
at B&B Lemon. And everyone here has been
Also,
very accommodating and wonderful.
Good things to come for Smoking a Toast, and thanks again to Chris Hart and Alan Denny for the Houston Whiskey Social. You guys provide a platform for us to make so many contacts and keep our show going and introduce us to so many people. So we walked around and talked to a lot of the distillers at the show. We've got a whole pocket load of context to follow up on over the next bunch of months. That's
Absolutely.
gonna be really nice.
And coming up in a couple of weeks, Matt Booth from Room 101 will talk tobacco with us, and we'll talk about why he was just so incredibly fond of Ian.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Also, last shout out, I am doing the MS 150 this year. For those of you that have already donated, thank you so much. Those donations are still the donations are still open until the end of April. And if you go by the New Potato and have any of the Bell's beer, $1 of that per beer will be going into my donation fund as well. I set a goal of $5,000. I believe I'm at $125 right now. So if anybody out there is
you got a
feeling
ways to go, but
going to the
people
MS
would-
150 fund, that'd be great. And I've been training, and I'm doing a pretty comfortable 50 miles right now. And
You're doing good.
I've got the rest of the month to do more training.
Well, Ian, I wish you well for that, and I will be donating to the cause as well.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to that. And we want to thank, again, all the folks at B&B Lemon, and we wish you the best. Have a wonderful week, my friends, and cheers.
Cheers.